A water pipe burst in Kwai Chung, leaving a truck trapped in a sinkhole. The League of Social Democrats announces its disbandment. Hello and welcome to TVB News. I'm Melissa Hekalea. The Water Supplies Department today said authorities aim to repair a burst underground water pipe in Kwai Chung and resume flushing water supply in the area by midnight. The incident happened Saturday night. Qinghai reports.
The water pipe burst on a section of Wo Yip Hop Road in Kwai Chung. A 5-meter by 5-meter sinkhole appeared, trapping a truck that was passing by. After the incident, authorities closed some of the lanes on Wo Yip Hop Road. The Water Supplies Department says the affected seawater pipe had a diameter of 250 millimeters. The department aims to repair the conduit by midnight before paving the damaged road, hoping to reopen it by Tuesday at the latest. At least 10 burst water pipe incidents have occurred since the beginning of the year. In February, a freshwater pipe burst in Central's Connaught Road. The Two Moon pipe burst in May disrupted the water supply for 200,000 residents and caused traffic chaos on Two Moon Road. The current total length of fresh and salt water mains in Hong Kong is about 8,000 kilometers. Of this, roughly 36 kilometers of cast iron and asbestos soil pipes are more than 50 years old. A conduit expert said most of the underground mains are copper pipes and can last for 100 years. However, the expert said pipe conditions could deteriorate because of excessive water pressure. He said authorities should reduce water pressure occasionally as a means of avoiding burst pipes. Ms. 9, TVB News.
Chief Executive John Lee says his administration will continue to be innovative and develop the city's economy. In a video to commemorate his 3 years as the city's leader, John Lee says his responsibility is to take Hong Kong forward to become a more advanced society. He says the northern metropolis is the city's new engine driving economic development. Lee also points to several aspects of his policies, including the promotion of innovation and technology. Amid geopolitical tensions, Financial Secretary Paul Chan said Hong Kong can find new opportunities from the continued integration of economies across Asia. In his weekly blog, the finance chief shared insights from the Summer Davos in Tianjin and the 10th AGM of Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank in Beijing. Despite geopolitical challenges, he says the Asian region accounts for some 60% of global GDP growth. He expects further deepening of economic cooperation within Asia. He also foresees a rise in demand for the renminbi due to an increase in international trade in the global south. He said Hong Kong should leverage its advantage as the world's largest offshore renminbi business hub and introduce more renminbi investment products. The Republican-controlled U.S. Senate narrowly advanced President Donald Trump's sweeping tax cut and spending bill on Saturday. This comes during a marathon weekend session marked by political drama, division, and lengthy delays as Democrats try to slow the passage of the legislation. Daniel Rao reports.
The yeas are 51, the nays are 49. The motion is agreed to. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate Republicans voting in a dramatic late Saturday session narrowly cleared a key procedural step. This as they race to advance U.S. President Donald Trump's package of tax breaks, spending cuts and bolstered deportation funds by his July 4th deadline. The tally, 51-49, came after a tumultuous session. Tense scenes played out in the chamber as voting came to a standstill, dragging on for hours as holdout senators huddled for negotiation. In the end, 2 Republicans opposed the motion to proceed to debate, joining all Democrats. Republicans are using their majorities in Congress to push aside Democratic opposition. However, they have run into a series of political and policy setbacks. Not all Republican lawmakers support proposals to reduce spending on Medicaid, food stamps, and other programs as a way to help cover the cost of extending some $3.8 trillion in Trump tax breaks. The 940-page bill was released shortly before midnight on Friday. Senators are expected to grind through the hours of all-night debate and amendments in the days ahead. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer slammed the bill. He said the Republicans unveiled it in the dead of night and are rushing to finish the bill before the public fully knows what's in it.
Senate Republicans are scrambling to pass a radical bill released to the public in the dead of night, praying the American people don't realize what's in it. If Senate Republicans won't tell the American people what's in this bill, then Democrats are going to force this chamber to read it from start to finish. I object.
If the Senate is able to pass it, the bill would go back to the House for a final round of votes before it could reach the White House. Dan Rowell, TV News.
The United States and the Group of 7 nations have agreed to support a proposal that would exempt U.S. companies from some components of an existing global agreement. The group has created a side-by-side system. This is in response to the U.S. agreeing to scrap the Section 899 retaliatory tax proposal from President Donald Trump's tax and spending bill. The G7 said the plan recognizes existing U.S. minimum tax laws and aims to bring more stability to the international tax system. In January, through an executive order, Trump declared that the global corporate minimum tax deal wasn't applicable in the U.S., pulling out of the Biden administration's 2021 agreement. Trump also vowed to impose a retaliatory tax against countries that impose taxes on U.S. firms under the 2021 deal. This tax was considered detrimental to many foreign companies operating in the U.S. Israeli strikes killed at least 72 people across Gaza as ceasefire prospects were said to be improving after 21 months of war. 3 children and their parents were killed in an Israeli strike on a tent camp in Muasi near the southern city of Khan Yunis. They were struck while sleeping, relatives said. Nazvi Karim has more.
The Abu Taima family wiped out. A father, mother and their 3 children among the 6 killed after an Israeli airstrike on the tents of the Muasi camp near Khan Yunis in Gaza. What did these children do to them? Asked their grandmother Saud Abu Taima. God is sufficient for me. Authorities say more than 70 Palestinians were killed in Israeli strikes across the Gaza Strip overnight and up to Saturday. In Gaza City in the north, at least a dozen people were killed near the Palestine Stadium, which was sheltering displaced people. 8 more Palestinians lost their lives after their apartments were hit. Yusuf Abu Nasser said he saw nothing but dust and fire after the strike, but managed to pull his injured father and sister from under the rubble. This as US President Donald Trump says he is close to securing a deal to end the 21-month war in Gaza. Israeli Minister for Strategic Affairs Ron Dermer is reportedly heading to Washington for talks on a ceasefire. Negotiations have stuttered since Israel broke the last ceasefire in March, with Hamas saying they are willing to release all hostages if Israel ends the war. In Tel Aviv, relatives of some 50 hostages still in Gaza, fewer than half of whom are still alive, hold their weekly rally, buoyed by Trump's hopes of an imminent ceasefire.
Everyone knows that Hamas has been defeated. What more is left to do in Gaza that has not already been done? Who else is left to eliminate? Bringing our hostages back now is the true victory.
Meanwhile, back in Gaza, the struggle for survival continues, and for some that means trying to earn a living amid chaos and devastation. Mohammed Najm is among a group of young Palestinians using waste plastic to make a crude form of fill. He risks death working 12 hours a day, his face blackened by the smoke. It's completely risky, but I want a source of income, he says. If we do not produce, the vehicles won't work, and no generators will work. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Iran's judiciary says at least 71 people were killed in Israel's attack on Tehran's notorious Evin prison. The announcement came after a prominent Iranian Nobel Peace Prize winner criticized Israel's bombing of the jail. Democracy campaigner Narges Mohammadi fears the war will enable Iran's current regime to strengthen its hold on power. David Garrett explains.
Tears in Tehran, men and women weeping at the funerals of top military and nuclear officials killed in Israeli strikes. State media said there were 1 million on the streets. The funeral procession went past solemnly, but after the sadness, thoughts of revenge. Bloodsucker Trump will know we will not waver, mourner Pacheco says. God willing, we retaliate for these martyrs and send America and the Zionists to hell. There were shouts of death to America and Israel as the dead were laid to rest. Thoughts moving to the future and how Iran could still respond. Nobel Peace Prize laureate Narges Mohammadi is worried about what may come next. The activist says Israel's attacks have set back the democracy movement, weakening freedoms. Mohammadi says Iran is under the control of security forces. When conditions are so, social and civil movements lessen. My worry is how we can get out of the severe situation. Narges criticised Israel for attacking Evin prison, where at least 71 died. Evin was not a legitimate target, she says. Attacking a prison when inmates are standing behind locked doors, unable to do the slightest thing to save themselves, can never be legitimate, she added. Mohammadi says some prisoners that survived have been moved to worse conditions. Amid the confusion of who survived and who was moved, a plea from families of French prisoners Cécile Collard and Jacques Paris, detained for 3 years on spying charges. Relatives are desperate for news and proof they are still alive. Israel's security lies with Donald Trump and his relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu. The Israeli Prime Minister is due to take the stand tomorrow on corruption charges, which he denies. Trump calling it insanity, adding the judicial process will interfere with talks between Israel, Hamas and Iran. David Garrett, TVB News.
Still ahead, Chinese businessmen in Panama concerned about the local government's new stance towards China. Japan launches a climate monitoring satellite on the final flight of the H-2A rocket. And camping and ecotourism thrive on natural wonders in Qinghai. Welcome back. Amid worsening relations between Panama and China recently, some Panamanians of Chinese descent and Chinese businesses based in the Central American country have suffered backlash from the situation. While some local businesses are considering divesting their interests, others believe it would be difficult to decouple from China. Timothy Lee tells us why.
The return of Donald Trump to the U.S. presidency has ushered in a new era of Sino-Panamanian relations. Under the rule of pro-U.S. President Jose Raul Mulino, the Panamanian government accused Hong Kong conglomerate CK Hutchison of violating several parts of its contract to acquire a number of ports on the Panama Canal in 2021. It was also during Mulino's administration that the Latin American nation pulled out of the Belt and Road Initiative and replaced radio towers that use Huawei technology with American alternatives. Besides infrastructure-related disputes, the country's 200,000 residents of Chinese descent have become unwilling participants in this political squabble. Alex Ye, who has been living in Panama for some 20 years, said many Chinese companies based in the country are worried about investing under such unstable political conditions, adding that many are considering divesting their interests. He noted these businesses no longer feel safe without the Belt and Road Initiative's presence in the nation, and that it is the Panamanian public that will bear the economic consequences of pulling out of the program. Xie further criticized Panamanian authorities for sacrificing the well-being of the public in a bid to forge closer ties with Washington, and that the government's move has disappointed many average Panamanians. Meanwhile, Leon Zhang, who has been running a trade business in Panama for the past 32 years, said it is difficult to measure the effects of the political dispute on the business sector. He added that the Panamanian government would deliberately mislead the public to create a negative view of Chinese businesses. This, as the Latin American nation had suffered from a wave of anti-Chinese sentiment during the last century, with large numbers of Chinese-owned shops forcibly confiscated and many ethnic Chinese Panamanians having to change their surnames to avoid attacks. But Zhang believes this tragic part of Panama's history will not repeat itself. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Japan has launched a climate monitoring satellite leaving Earth on the final flight of the H-2A rocket. A perfect launch after a few days' delay due to an electrical problem. The satellite separated and was in its planned orbit in 16 minutes. It'll monitor greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. An emotional technical crew marked the moment with applause. The H-2A has launched about 50 flights with only one failure in 2003. It's being replaced by the H-3, which is already in use. The League of Social Democrats, one of the last remaining pro-democracy parties in Hong Kong, today announced its disbandment with immediate effect. The party, founded 19 years ago, said the decision to dissolve was unanimously agreed by its members. Samantha Lee tells us more.
The League of Social Democrats announced its dissolution this afternoon.
Our decision to dissolve ourselves is we are facing a lot of political pressure, and we need to consider a lot of reasons, including especially for our Congress, our friends, the consequence for them.
Chan's husband, who is one of the party's co-founders, Leung Kwok-hung, also known as Long Hair, is currently serving time in prison. According to Chan, her husband supports the party's decision. When asked where the political pressure had come from, Chan said it is difficult for her to say, but she believes there will be more political parties shutting down in the future. Established in 2006, the League of Social Democrats comprised of some 30 founding members, including lawmakers, district councillors, academics, and social activists. The party was first led by Won Yuk-man, also known as Mad Dog, with Leung Kwok-hung and Chen Wai-yip among the founding members. The group won 3 seats in the 2008 Legislative Council election, emerging as a new political force in the city. It positioned itself as a radical wing of the pro-democracy camp. At one time, Won Yuk-man interrupted then Chief Executive Donald Tsang's policy address by throwing a banana in the legislature. In 2010, the League of Social Democrats joined forces with the Democratic Party to launch the 5 constituencies referendum campaign in a bid to pressure the government to implement what they called genuine universal suffrage and abolish the functional constituencies. After Won Yuk-man and Chen Wai-yip quit the party, Leung Kwok-hung became chairman and the only League of Social Democrats member winning a seat in the legislature. However, he was disqualified in the oath of office controversy. After the national security law came into force in 2020, Leung and another member of the party, Sham Chi-kit, were sentenced to prison in a landmark subversion trial. The party announced that it would not take part in elections after the electoral reform, but sometimes set up street booths in Causeway Bay to express its dissatisfaction with the government's labor importation policy. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
Where mountains meet starlight, China's northwestern province of Qinghai is rich in natural wonders. In part 4 of our Qinghai series, Jackie Lin visits 2 camping grounds to look into how the province's landscapes are powering a booming ecotourism scene.
Rushing rivers, cascading waterfalls, Qinghai's natural wonders stir the senses. Stretching across the border of Gansu and Qinghai provinces, the Jilin Mountains stand tall with a third of the vast expanse of them rooted in Qinghai. From tranquil lakes to sweeping meadows, these highland landscapes are fueling a quiet boom in camping tourism. Among city dwellers seeking a change of scenery and respite in the wilderness. Opened in August last year with partial government funding, this campsite charges users an annual fee of 3,000 yuan rather than a daily rate. Here, campers pitch tents, dig makeshift wells, chop firewood, and build their second home nestled in nature. 38-year-old Xining entrepreneur Mr. Qi has been pursuing this rugged way of life, staying here 4 to 5 days a week over the past few months.
特别放松舒适。
Despite unstable power supply here, he says the vast space brings serenity. Here he works with his hands and no more couch scrolling. These lakeside hostel units provide another option for nature seekers. Fun and giggles fill the site. And there is a starry night sky with zero light pollution. For ecotourists in Qinghai around Chilean mountains, these views are also within reach. This Zhejiang tourist says she longed for a trip to Qinghai for years, and what has made this trip extra special is the company of her son. Especially at this Lianxing Lake, which means connected hearts in Chinese. From where I'm standing, this popular photo spot in the Chilean mountains offers visitors both the views of the Lianxing Lake and the snow-capped peaks. Jacqueline, TVB News, Qinghai.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Have a good evening.